Okay, recording now it started. So, in hydroelectric power plant, the potential energy and kinetic energy of water is being converted to mechanical energy by turbine. So, turbine is basically that device which is converting of this water energy into mechanical energy, and now then into electric energy or electrical energy. It should be electrical energy by dynamo, or it can say by or alternator. Okay, so this turbine is only doing that conversion of energy from kinetic energy to mechanical energy. We all know that energy we cannot create, we only can convert one form of energy into another form. Okay sir, we are doing that same thing. Second point I have written, turbine is a prime mover which transforms the water energy into mechanical energy. Okay, so if any time anybody asks you that what is the function of using a turbine, so that will be the one line answer. The turbine is a prime mover which actually transforms the water energy into mechanical energy. Now if again ask that what is the water energy, then you should say that water energy, we are concentrating on the potential and kinetic energy which is stored in the water, that is to be converted into mechanical energy by the rotation of the turbine shaft. Now here I have written it can be classified as impulse turbine and reaction turbine. It can be classified means obviously turbine, rather say the hydraulic turbine, classified like impulse and reaction. Impulse means if the driving energy is supplied by the water is kinetic form, that means only if we using the kinetic form of energy, or rather say kinetic energy of the working fluid, that is water, then that turbine is known as impulse turbine. What does this mean? That means there is no role of pressure energy. Understood? So if we are concentrating on impulse turbine, that means only we are bothering regarding the kinetic energy of the fluid or working fluid. And if we go for the reaction turbine, then we have written driving energy is supplied by the water partly in kinetic and partly in pressure energy. That means while we are going to study reaction turbine, that point of time we should keep in our mind that kinetic energy and pressure energy both will be the playing the key role for making that rotation of the turbine, because basically in reaction turbine the whole turbine kept inside a casing, so that way the pressure is also being converted, pressure energy is also being converted. But here in case of impulse turbine, the turbine actually kept open to the atmosphere. That means around all around the turbine the pressure will be remain same, that is the atmospheric pressure. No change in the pressure energy is occurring for the impulse turbine. The kinetic form of energy is the key role in case of impulse turbine. And in case of reaction turbine, kinetic as well as pressure, both the energy is playing the role. Understood? Okay. Now after having this little bit of introductory knowledge, then I should give you some name of different kind of turbine which are basically very popular, like according to the head means actually the elevation, that means what amount of head you need to have to use a particular हो जावे. So what amount of head we need to have to install a particular kind of turbine, that is a very important parameter, because the customer actually gives you some amount of head, that is suppose 500-meter head is available to you or available for us. Now we need to generate suppose 500 or 250 megawatt of electricity generation. Then we have to design the turbine actually. That is the supplied data, that is the amount of head that is available for us, it is fixed, and what amount of power you want to generate, that is also a fixed data. According to these data we have to select the other things, like the last day I have told you what is specific speed. Specific speed is a very important parameter if we want to select a particular kind of turbine. because various kinds of turbines are there. Okay, now I am going to tell you that suppose if the heat available, it is like suppose 10 to 60 meter, 10 to 60 meters head available for you. You can say that it is not a very big high value of head available, because 1 meter is nothing but 3.3 feet, or let's say 3 feet. So 10 meter means 30 feet, or just slightly greater than 30 feet, and 60 meter means close to 180 feet. So it is not a very high head, I can say. So for this kind of head, if it is available for you, there you can use a particular kind of turbine which can be installed, which is known as Kaplan turbine. Sorry, Kaplan turbine. Basically, Kaplan turbine not very. This turbine actually not used for generation of power. Actually, this Kaplan turbine used in marines, in ships. That Kaplan turbine is very popularly used. Okay, and this Kaplan turbine has some advantage actually. It is adjustable blade facility is there. So adjustable blades are there. Blades or vanes you can say. Blades or vanes, both are same. Different terms are used. So this Kaplan turbine having a facility that this turbine blades can be adjusted according to our need. Some reflection is coming on the board now. Is it okay now?
Yes.
So yes, this Kaplan turbine actually a low head turbine we can say. It is basically not a very huge amount of head is necessary for run a Kaplan turbine, and the adjustable blade facility is there, so you can change the angle of the blade according to our need. And if you see any video of the movie, that kind of Kaplan turbine in a ship you can see, and that turbine is basically this blade angle can be adjusted, and this turbine is actually the flow of the fluid. It is a axial flow turbine. Axial flow turbine means the flowing direction of the fluid. Basically we are dealing with the water, so water will flow along the axis of the turbine. So suppose this is the turbine. If I draw like this kind of shape, okay, this kind of shape you can see for a Kaplan turbine. So the flow of the fluid will be like this direction. Okay, so this is the shaft of the turbine you can assume. Okay, so I am taking a front view, so it will be look like this. So Kaplan turbine actually the flow of the fluid, that means direction of the flow will be the direction of the axis. This is the axis of the turbine. Okay, so depending
So
on,
are these turbines used when the ship is moving air?
yes, obviously it will produce a driving force while you are going to run move the ship. That point of time the turbine will rotate, and the turbine will be rotating with the help of that particular engine connected with it, because lots of huge or bulky size of diesel engine is coupled with this particular turbine, because in case of power generation the turbine will be rotating with the help of a jet of fluid. That jet of water is coming from the high head, which is from the high end of the hill. But in case of ship, that head is not available there. That point of time you have to rotate this turbine with the help of IC engine. IC engine is kept at the bottom of the ship. The IC engine is acting like a prime mover there. Okay, so IC engine will giving the power to the turbine, this axial turbine, or rather say the Kaplan turbine. That way the turbine will rotate, and that will produce the thrust by which the ship can go ahead. Okay, so this is also a kind of reaction turbine. This Kaplan turbine is also a reaction type turbine. Reaction type turbine. So in this particular scope of subject, we are going to deal with two very popular turbine, which is a Francis turbine and a Pelton turbine. Now coming to different head range. Suppose 30 to 400 meter. It's a wide range you can say. Wide range of head, 30 meter to 400 meter. This wide range of head, if you have, then you can go for the Francis turbine. Basically all this turbine named as by the name of the scientist, you can understand that. Okay, so this Francis turbine can work obviously for power generation, and it is also a reaction type turbine. So that turbine also a reaction type turbine, and that is a radial flow turbine. A radial flow turbine, that means the working fluid flowing, the direction of the working fluid, it is according to the radial direction. Suppose this is the rotor, this kind of blades are there. I am not going to draw a particular geometry. So the flow actually coming like this way, radial direction. Okay. And in case of Francis turbine, actually while we study that point of time, it will be clear more that all the time each of the blade completely filled with the working fluid, that means completely filled with the water all the time. The geometry or the design is such like that every blade always will be filled with some water. Okay. And the whole runner will be covered by a particular kind of casing. Okay. So that way the pressure energy also plays an important role for working of a Francis turbine, or rather say reaction turbine, because the pressure energy is also going to change depending on this design of the casing. Okay. So while we are going to enter in the Francis turbine, it will be more clear. So from there I can say that the Francis turbine, you can see that the range of heat, it is much wider than the Kaplan turbine, and the flow direction, rather say the flow of the fluid, it is also different from the Kaplan turbine. Kaplan turbine. And if we go for some high range of heat, like above 300 meter, 300 meter is quite a high value, then you can select a Pelton turbine. A Pelton turbine is nothing but a impulse type turbine. That means only the kinetic energy will be playing the important role here, no role of pressure energy here. And it is basically a tangential flow turbine. Tangential flow means, suppose this is the runner of the Pelton turbine, if I assume, then the flow direction, obviously no casing will be there in case of Pelton turbine. Flow direction of the working fluid will be the tangential direction, like this. Suppose this is the blade. Now the working fluid flowing tangentially and going to hit like this. That is the tangential direction. In tangential direction, that working fluid is going to hit that particular runner blade. Okay. So first of all we should start with this particular Pelton turbine, then we will go to the Francis turbine. Okay. So before starting the Pelton turbine, first of all I you the runner of the Pelton turbine in physical manner. In our college we have a runner of a Pelton turbine, and that point of time we can show you that how the Pelton turbine runner actually look like. But here we don't have that option, so I can show you a video of a Pelton turbine in basically by software, so by which you can understand how the Pelton turbine vane, or rather say the blades, look like. It is so important to understand the shape of the Pelton turbine blade, then we can go with the derivation of efficiency of velocity diagram. Okay. So first see this particular video of Pelton turbine, and from there you can have an idea that how the geometry of the blade of Pelton turbine actually look like. Okay. See, this is the shape of a Pelton turbine rotor, and this is the position of the nozzle. Now this spear, you can see a spear is moving in and moving out. This spear actually help to control the rate of flow of the working fluid which is flowing through this pipeline. Can you see this part of video?
Yes, sir.
Wait.
Yes, sir.
If I make it full screen, can you see the full screen? Now see, this is the jet of that particular working fluid, basically water. Okay, now that is the direction of the tangential direction. You can see that tangentially that jet is going to hit the rotor. Okay, This is the blade. Actually, I am talking about this particular blade. You can see the shape of the blade. It is a kind of shape of a spoon shape or bucket shape. See, the jet is coming centrally, then it is going to divide into two parts. It is splitted. Why? Because in the middle portion there is a part which is known as splitter. I am pausing that video over here. See, this jet is coming, hitting on this particular part. It is kind of a ridge. It is known technically, it is known as splitter, because that part actually splitting this particular jet into two equal halves. Can you see this part?
Yes, sir.
So this splitter actually splitting this blade of the turbine Pelton wheel into two equal parts. Both the halves, that means right half or left half of the vane, they are symmetrically designed. Okay, now the jet is coming, going to hit the splitter in tangential direction. That V in nothing but the absolute velocity of the jet which is coming out from the nozzle, and V out is the velocity of the jet which is coming, discharging out or going out from the blade. Okay, so this shape of the blade is very important. We have to understand the shape of the blade. Both the side of the blade, it is perfectly symmetrical, and at the middle of the blade there is a rib which is called as splitter, and the splitter basically helping that jet to divide into two equal halves, right and left. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Now those equation I am coming afterwards. See, this is the view. Okay, the jet is coming, going to hit the splitter, then left side, right side, then going out. Understood? এই শেপটাই আমি বোঝাতে চাইছিলাম. ওকে, so that geometry help us to find the different relationship for the Pelton turbine. Okay, so from here we have some information regarding Pelton turbine. We commonly say that is a Pelton wheel also. Okay, Pelton wheel or Pelton turbine, they are basically the same thing. You have seen the geometry is something like this. Suppose this is the kind of front view of a Pelton turbine. So this is a particular blade I am trying to draw, this kind of blade, and from this direction that jet is going to hit to that particular vane or blade. Obviously this is here one nozzle will be there. Okay, this is a nozzle, and that nozzle will be fixed one, it will not move, fixed nozzle. And nozzle is our device which helps us to increase the kinetic energy of the fluid. Nozzle is also a very important part. So it is not in syllabus, in this syllabus. So by nozzle, how it works, it is a very important device. So by this nozzle actually helping to increase the kinetic energy of that particular water. Okay. Now regarding the Pelton wheel or Pelton turbine, already I have said it is a high head turbine. So while the head is very high, then you can install this kind of turbine. It is a impulse turbine. Why I am writing repeatedly? Because from these points some objective questions always appear. Okay, using this particular information. And the shape of that rotor, or rather say the shape of the blade or vane, it is told that spoon shaped. It is the shape of a spoon shaped, and you say they are bucket. The shape is such a like bucket, that is why it is commonly said like a bucket, spoon shaped bucket. And they are uniformly spaced. That means the cross section is look like this. If I take a cross section of that particular bucket portion, so it will be look like this. I am trying to show you the particular shape of that bucket part. Here a cut will be there. This kind of shape actually it is. This middle portion, this is the splitter where that jet is going to hit. Okay, that is a side view of bucket. Now you can see just from the video you have seen, suppose if you want to achieve the maximum amount of change of momentum, basically change in momentum is the main role here. In the last class I have shown you that how change in momentum playing the important role in case of a just to produce the amount of work done. Okay, so that change in momentum, if you want to achieve maximum, then what we can do, the jet after hitting this vane, if it is deflected 180 degree, then we can say the maximum amount of work done can be achieved, isn't it? After making the deflection through this vane, if the jet is deflected just reverse side, that means just opposite direction of the jet, that means maximum amount of work is being done on the blade, isn't it? If you want to achieve maximum change in momentum, momentum means what? Mass into velocity. So if velocity, if it is going in this direction, the jet velocity, and if it is after deflection, if it is coming just opposite direction, it is incoming and it is outgoing. That means in between these two velocity, the deflection is what amount? 180 degree deflection. If the deflection is 180 degree, that point of time you will achieve the maximum change in momentum, isn't it? Because final velocity and initial velocity, suppose this is the final velocity v2 and this is the initial velocity v1, then the v1 plus v2 multiplied with m, that will be the change in momentum, isn't it? Because v1 and v2, they are opposite in direction. So if you make v1 minus of v2, so it will make you v1 plus v2. That is the change in velocity, because the momentum is nothing but m into v. So change in momentum means mass into final velocity minus mass into initial velocity. But if this change in velocity just in opposite in direction, then depending on the vector concept, they will be added together. Are you getting me or not? So that way, if the after deflection, if the jet is coming just 180 degree with the initial velocity, then it will produce the maximum change in momentum, isn't it? Tell me. Because change in momentum means what? Then I have to clarify it more. First, tell me what is change in momentum. I can say if the always mass will be remain constant. So change in momentum is mass into final velocity minus initial velocity. If Vf is final velocity and Vi is initial velocity, then I can say Vf minus Vi, that will be the change in momentum, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Now if from this particular case, if I say suppose this is the Vi and this is the Vf, consider. Now if the final velocity, suppose always I take the rightward direction, it is positive, and leftward direction it is negative, always graphically it is considered. So here if I take that minus Vf minus Vi, because Vi is positive and Vf is negative depending on the direction, because velocity is a vector. So if I take minus as a common, so it will be giving you Vi plus Vf. So minus is nothing but giving you the direction, it doesn't matter. But the magnitude, you say change in momentum, it is the maximum. If you take less than 180 degree value, suppose the jet is coming in this direction and deflected like this direction, this is the Vi direction, this is the Vf direction, Vi and Vf, then this theta angle obviously not 180 degree, here theta is 180 degree, but here theta is not 180 degree. Then that point of time you have to consider Vf of cos theta minus of Vi. Obviously some cos theta value, suppose it is cos of 60 degree, it may be, then obviously it will be less than Vf. Then this value, the subtraction value will be less comparing with this one, isn't it? If I consider this thing, then obviously this value will be less comparing with this one, because here I am considering not Vf, a component of Vf, so it will be less comparing with this one. Minus always will be there, minus is nothing but giving you the direction, nothing else. But see the magnitude, here this is the magnitude, here this is the magnitude, and obviously this one will give you less result, because I am not getting the full component of Vf. Here while the Vf is 180 degree, then obviously we will get the maximum change in momentum. Now tell me, it is clear or not? Always if you deflect the jet completely in reverse, that means reverse to the incoming velocity, then it will produce the maximum change in momentum, because the deflection is maximum better. If the jet is coming back with the same direction, that means what? That means the jet is completely 180 degree deflected. Here it is not 180 degree deflected, it is something less than 180 degree. That means some energy is being wasted, so work done, change in momentum will be less. Always the jet, if it is আরে এটা মাইনাস আসো না, আমি অত তাড়াহুড়ো করে করছি, জাস্ট লাইক দিস ওয়ান, টেক দ্য মাইনাস কমন, দেন বোথ উইল বি প্লাস, বোথ দ্য কনসেপ্ট ইজ সেম না। Vf cos theta কি করে পারবে? cos 60 সাপোজ হাফ 1/2 এখানে চলে আসবে, হাউ ইট ক্যান বি ইনক্রিজ? cos 30 পাবো, cos 60 পাবো, যা পাবো, so always it will produce the maximum change in momentum if it is giving you the 180 degree deflection. But in real practice what happens, if we deflect 180 degree, then the problem is that ekhane one jet vane is placed, another one, that means lots of number of vanes are there. If the jet is deflected 180 degree, then পিছনে যে ভেনটা থাকবে, it will be getting heated by this particular vane jet. Just try to clear it. Suppose this is the vane I am talking about. Okay, now here the nozzle is going to hit over this. Now after hitting, I am telling that jet will be deflected 180 degree. That means what? Jet will return back following this same path, isn't it? So while it is returning back, then another blade is there just beside, basically lots of blades are there. Returning velocity, it will hit this particular next blade. So one blade is pushing in this direction, that means one blade is trying to go in this direction and the next one is trying to move in this direction. It will create a kind of collision force, or rather say obstruction force. The returning jet actually creates some obstruction to the rotation. So that way, this is the physical problem, that is the real problem actually we face. Theoretically we can apply lots of conditions for any design, but practically when we are going to implement them, some difficulties we have to face. Okay, now one can say that then we can reduce the number of blades. Now if we reduce the number of blades, then lots of energy will be wasted, because all the time if we place more number of blades, that means continuous that change in momentum will occur, it will produce more torque. So keeping that constraint in our mind, what we do not deflect the jet 180 degree, we deflect the jet in an angle of 165 degree. It is being optimized and it is being accepted globally that if there is a deflection angle. Which deflection I am talking about? The jet deflection. After making the heat with the bucket, then it will be deflected. If we deflect around 165 degree, that is also known as camber angle. If we keep this angle, then it will give you much more amount of change in momentum. So why we do not keep 180 degree, that is the reason, and why we shoot 180 degree, that is the reason. Understood? Because some physical complications always will be there, and for the sake of that complication we optimize that theta. If we keep it 165 from both the sides, it will serve our good purpose. Can we move ahead?
Yes, sir.
Now, after having this introductory information regarding Pelton wheel, now we are going to see how the velocity diagram changes. Already I have shown you the velocity diagram. I have sent you a snapshot also. So from there I have shown you how the actual velocity diagram for a turbo machinery look like. Now here, suppose this is the geometry of the bucket. Already I shown you the shape of the bucket, and if you make a cross section of the bucket, it will look like this. It is look like this. It is the cross section of the bucket. This middle part is the splitter. This is the splitter part. Okay. Now here the working fluid, that is the water, is going to hit where? The working fluid is going to hit on this particular splitter. Now that working fluid is distributed into two hubs. It will flow in this direction and going to flow in this direction. But this is the direction of the coming jet from the nozzle. Okay. This is the direction of the jet. I am putting an arrow over here. This is the arrow. This is the, suppose I am going to draw the velocity diagram. So this length I am considering the whole length. This is the velocity of the jet. I have represented it by V1, and obviously the vane will move in this direction, that is the direction of the bucket, or rather say the velocity of the bucket. Velocity of bucket in this direction, and we have used a nomenclature there, U. Tangential velocity, you can say. It is a tangential velocity actually. Tangential velocity of the bucket. That nomenclature we have used last day also. And this is the direction of the velocity of the jet, rather say the absolute velocity. Now in our previous class I have shown you a diagram like this. I think you have that drawing. This kind of drawing I have shown. That is the general diagram of velocity diagram for any kind of turbo machinery. That kind of drawing I have shown you. This was the V1, this was the VR1, this was the VF1. All these terms already I have explained last day. Now see, this is the general diagram, but here we have to modify the diagram, because in this case the jet is coming just in this angle. This is the direction of angle, that is the alpha I have used. The nozzle is placed at an angle with horizontal surface, which is alpha. Here the nozzle is placed horizontally, that means no alpha value is there. Here the alpha is 0, that means nozzle is placed horizontally actually. In the video I have shown you, the nozzle is placed horizontally and tangentially it is going to hit the splitter or the bucket. That is why a horizontal straight line is there, no angle is there. So that is why from this diagram, this V1 is converted from here to there. This is the direction of V1 now, like this. If you change the shape of the bucket, it will be like this. So while that V1 is converted like a horizontal direction, then what will happen? Suppose I am putting the velocity of the bucket, rather say the U velocity, I am putting here. Suppose this is the magnitude of the U. You see that U and V both are aligned. That means here U and V both are collinear, isn't it? Collinear. Because the direction of this bucket, or rather say the tangential velocity direction of the bucket, and the jet velocity direction, both are in a same straight line. That is why they are collinear. That is why I am placing like this. Obviously u magnitude will be less than the v, so that is why I am keeping this length. How much it is I don't know, but it must be shorter than v1. I am keeping this amount of length, so I can name it by u1. Obviously I will keep them u1 and u2 same. Afterwards it will be clear. So this is the tangential velocity of the rotor, and this is the absolute velocity of the jet, and they are collinear. That is why they are lying over each other. একটার উপর একটা শুয়ে আছে like this. Then here one relative velocity is there. Here also relative velocity will be there, and both the velocity, if they are in same direction, then the relative velocity will be Vr1, that will be V1 minus U1. That is the childhood vector concept. If both the vectors running in a same direction, the resultant velocity, a resultant vector or net vector will be subtraction of them, so it will be Vr1. That is the net velocity of the jet with respect to the velocity of bucket. This is the inlet velocity diagram of the Pelton wheel, just a straight line. I can show it separately here also. It is just a straight line. This is the length, which is v1, absolute velocity of the jet. Suppose this is the length, that is u1, that is the tangential velocity of the jet, and that is the length of the relative velocity. The direction is same. Relative velocity direction is also same. So talk about Vf1 and Vw1. In general diagram I have shown these components. You can go through there. Vf1 I told, that is the vertical component of the v1, which is known as velocity of flow, which acts in the axial direction. And Vw1 I told, wheel component or tangential component of the v1, because all the time if one velocity is like this v1, it must have one horizontal component and one vertical component. This horizontal component I named by Vw, and this vertical component I named by Vf. Vf is velocity of flow and Vw is world velocity. World velocity, this velocity actually very good for us, and this velocity is not so helpful for us, because this velocity component actually creates some thrust on the turbine axis or turbine shaft. That way this velocity component actually damage the turbine bearing, but this velocity component is very helpful for us. This velocity component actually rotates the turbine. Now here, while the v1 is in inclined direction, that point of time Vw1 and Vf1 will be there obviously, but here in this case that v1 is in horizontal direction, then v1 and Vw1 both are same, both are acting horizontally na. So whatever Vw1 I have used, that is nothing but v1 here. Both are same because v1 is nothing but the horizontal direction. So v1 and Vw1 makes the same sense, and here obviously no vertical component will be there, so Vf1 is getting 0. This is the inlet diagram. This is the inlet velocity diagram for Pelton wheel. Here I have shown it, and just separately I am showing it, the same thing. See, if there is any confusion for the inlet velocity diagram, then please tell me, otherwise I will move to the outlet diagram. Basically if you attend my last class, it will be, I think it will be understood.
Yes.
অভিষেক বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
Yes, sir.
আদিত্রি বুঝতে পারোনি তো?
স্যার আসলে কালকের ক্লাসটা আমি করিনি।
সেটা আমি জানি। এইখানে যে কজন আছে তার মধ্যে একমাত্র অভিষেক ছিল, আর কেউ ছিল বলে মনে হয় না। সৌভিক ছিল কি?
Yes, sir.
ইয়েস। অনির্বাণ ছিল? অনির্বাণ দত্ত আজকেও নেই, ফোনটাকে অন করে দিয়ে বা ল্যাপটপটাকে অন করে দিয়ে ঘুমোচ্ছে। ছেলেটার স্বভাব আছে এটা।
আপনার ফোনটা খারাপ হয়ে গেছিল।
হ্যাঁ সেটা তো শুনলাম। আচ্ছা অনির্বাণ তুমি আছো? অনির্বাণ আগেও একদিন ডেকেছিলাম, সেদিন কেউ রেসপন্স করেনি। শুধু শুধু কেন আসো? অনির্বাণ আর ইউ দেয়ার? রিমুভিং ইউ। শুভম চক্রবর্তী
Yes, sir.
তুমি আগের ছিলে?
Yes, sir.
কিছু বোঝা যাচ্ছে?
হ্যাঁ স্যার, বুঝতে পারছি।
রামকৃষ্ণ
Yes, sir.
আগের দিন ছিলে?
Yes, sir.
তাহলে বুঝতে পেরেছো ইনলেট ডায়াগ্রাম?
Yes, sir.
অ্যাকচুয়ালি আগের দিনকে আমি একটু টাইম নিয়ে ডিটেলে বলেছিলাম, আজকে যদি আবার ওইগুলো নিয়ে আবার শুরু করি না তাহলে কি হবে, আমি আর এগোতে পারবো না। সমস্যাটা বোঝাতে পারছি আদিত্রী? আমি বুঝতে পারছি তোমার সমস্যাটাও জেনুইন।
ভিডিওটা আপলোড করলে আমি দেখবো যদি কোনো অসুবিধা হয়।
ভিডিওটা আপলোড করতে পারবো না, কারণ ভিডিওটা মাঝখানে এতবার স্টপ হয়ে গেছে। তবু আমি একবার চেক করব, যদি মানে এতবার স্টপ হয়ে গেছে বলে খাপ ছাড়া হয়ে গেছে, সেটাকে আমি
30 minute একটু দেখবেন যদি পাওয়া যায়।
হ্যাঁ যতটুকু আছে আমি দেখবো এডিট করে যদি কিছু করা যায়, কারণ এতবার ওই হ্যাঁ বলো।
স্যার কিছু কিছু ভিডিও দেখছিলাম আমরা, মানে স্যার লেখাটা আগে করে দেখছিলাম, ভিডিওটা আগে করে দেখছি, সাউন্ডটা পরে আসছে।
ওইগুলো কি বলো তো, এগুলো তো সফটওয়্যারের প্রবলেম, আমি কিছু করতে পারি না। অ্যাকচুয়ালি এটা হয় না, যদি আমি দেখো আমি অডিওটা চেঞ্জ করছি, মোডটা অডিও চেঞ্জ করা ছিল, আবার আগের দিন থেকে বললে ভালো শোনা যাচ্ছে না, সেই জন্য আমাকে অডিও মোড আজকে আবার চেঞ্জ করতে হয়েছে। আচ্ছা দেখো তো অডিও মোডটা আমি যদি চেঞ্জ করি তোমাদের শুনতে কিটা অসুবিধা হয় কিনা। এখন আমি একটা অডিও মোড চেঞ্জ করেছি, এই মোডে যদি আমি রেকর্ডিং করি তাহলে ওই মানে গ্যাপটা হবে না, অডিও অ্যান্ড ভিডিও যে গ্যাপটা হচ্ছে। এখন কি আমার ভয়েস শুনতে
ঠিক আছে, বাট আগে একটু ক্লিয়ার ছিল অবশ্যই।
যখন কেটে যাচ্ছিল তখন আমাকে চেঞ্জ করতে হয়েছিল, তখনই ওই সিঙ্কিংটা হচ্ছে না, সেটা দেখতে পেয়েছি আমিও। কিন্তু এইগুলো তো মানে সমস্যা একটা, সব রকম টেকনিক্যাল গ্যাজেটস তো আমার কাছে নেই, दैट इज द प्रॉब्लम। जो भी हो रहा है सब जुगाड़ से हो रहा है, अंडरस्टूड?
Yes.
सो द वेलोसिटी डायग्राम,
কালকে ভিডিওটা পাওয়া যাবে না?
হ্যাঁ আমি চেষ্টা করব, যেটুকুনি রেকর্ডিং হয়েছে, যেটা অভিষেক বললো যতটুকুনি রেকর্ডিং হয়েছে আমি দেখবো সেটাকেই আপলোড করব। পুরো রেকর্ডিংটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি হয়নি, মাঝখানে এতগুলো ফোন এসেছিল যে স্টপ হয়ে গেছে, আর আমার পড়াতে গিয়ে মনে নেই যে ওটা ফোন আসলে ওটা ডিসকন্টিনিউ হয়ে যায়। আই ফরগট দ্যাট থিং। ওকে, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য প্রবলেম। Velocity diagram is basically a very easy thing, very easy. Basically it represents the graphical representation of different velocities. Graphical representation করতে গেলে কি করতে হয় না, কোনো একটা ফ্যাক্টরকে গ্রাফিক্যালি রিপ্রেজেন্ট করতে গেলে একটা স্কেল চুজ করতে হয়। যেমন ধরো এখানে ভেলোসিটি নিয়ে কালচার করছি, তাই ভেলোসিটি দিয়েই বলি। প্রত্যেকটা ভেলোসিটি, ধরো এই অ্যাবসলিউট ভেলোসিটিকে যে আমি এতটা লেন্থে আঁকলাম, ডাইরেকশনটা তো বোঝা যাচ্ছে হরিজন্টাল হবে, কিন্তু কতটা লেন্থ করব সেই লেন্থটা তোমার চুজ অ্যান্ড স্কেলের ওপরে। ধরো অঙ্কে দেওয়া আছে v1 is 50 meter per second. Now we have to select a scale. Suppose I am selecting a scale like 1 meter per second, or rather say 10 meter per second. 10 meter per second equals to 1 centimeter. This kind of scale I am choosing. So that 50 meter per second obviously will represent 5 centimeter. So that length will represent 5 centimeter. Direction horizontal, in this case horizontal. Now if the u1 value is available for us, obviously it should be less than 50 meter, because some loss will be there. Suppose it is 40 meter per second. So again using the same scale I have to take this length and project it over there. That way you can get the length of this particular straight lines, nothing else. Now here I have to know that what are the velocities we are thinking of. We are concentrating on what velocities? One, that is v, that is absolute velocity. Okay, this is the velocity, absolute velocity of jet. Second velocity we are bothering u, that is the tangential velocity, already written, tangential velocity of the rotor. Okay, then third one is vr. Vr means a relative velocity of jet with respect to blade velocity, because blade and jet both are moving. That is why the net velocity or resultant velocity concept comes, and it is obviously dealing with these two velocities. Okay, if jet and the blade moving in same direction, then it will be like this, v1 minus u1, and if they are acting in reverse direction, it will be summation of this, that means v plus u will be there. That will come in the case of outlet diagram. Apart of these three velocity, two more velocity will come, which coming for the sake of v. If the v is inclined, just I have shown, suppose this is the v, this is the v, this velocity, it is the inclined one, suppose this is the angle making it is alpha. So if any inclined vector is there, then obviously it must have one horizontal component and one vertical component. Suppose this is the vector which is inclined, v. So one velocity will act in the horizontal direction, I named it by vw, and one velocity act in the vertical direction, I named it by vf. vw is nothing but world velocity, technically it is said so, and vf, that is the velocity of flow. It is in axial direction or perpendicular direction, it is in horizontal direction, and with the effect of these two velocity, one inclined velocity can be there. Every point of time, one vector acting inclined, so must be it have horizontal, one vertical component. They are same. This horizontal component helping us to rotate the rotor, and this vertical component actually creates some thrust on the shaft of the bearing of the shaft. So that way this VF is not so desirable, but it must be there, you cannot avoid it. This VF actually creates axial thrust on the bearing, so it will damage the bearing actually, but we cannot avoid it, it must be there. So our objective is minimize the VF and maximize the VW. VW is helping velocity. These all velocities will be incorporated here. One VW will be here, VF will be here. These five velocities constitute velocity diagram, nothing else. Apart of these five velocities, two angle will be encountered. One is this angle alpha. I have used alpha nomenclature. Alpha is nothing but nozzle angle. You can say the blade angle at inlet also, same thing. And this angle I have notified by theta. I think this snapshot I have given you. You can get that snapshot. This general diagram I have detailed diagram I have given you. Because if you go through that particular drawing and if you make that thing easy, then it will be very helpful for whole fluid machine part. I can guarantee you can help other students from any other institutions also, because this velocity diagram is not very clear to lots of students as well as for teachers also, I can assure you. Most of the cases we remember the thing, memorize the thing, don't understand the thing. That is the problem. But if you understand the thing, it is very easy. So how the inlet diagram of the Pelton turbine look like? This is the inlet diagram of the inlet velocity diagram of the Pelton turbine. Why? Because the velocity coming, it is horizontal direction and going to hit at the center of the bucket, that is splitter. So V1, obviously the absolute velocity, it will be the maximum comparing with tangential velocity and the relative velocity. Okay. Now coming to the outlet diagram, I am taking the bottom side. Outlet diagram means, suppose this is this one, it will be remain same. Outlet diagram. This is the coming out, this kind of shape will be there. While the jet is coming out, it will be coming with relative velocity. While the jet is coming out of the blade, obviously it will come out with the relative velocity. Okay, and this is the V2, this is the V2, this is the VF2, so this amount will be VW2, and this will be U2, How I am doing this, I will clarify. Wait. And just go through the general diagram. I have used this angle as phi and this angle as beta. Just go through the general diagram. I have told that time that alpha and beta, they are twin brothers, and theta and phi, they are twin sisters. That way I have selected the nomenclature or notation. So just to, it is actually a trick to remember. If alpha is the nozzle angle at inlet, if the alpha is the nozzle angle at inlet, then beta will be blade angle at outlet. That, not blade angle, sorry, jet angle at outlet. Why? Because the nozzle angle and the jet angle, it is basically the same thing. Because from the nozzle, if the nozzle is placed at an angle of alpha, with the same angle the jet will come, isn't it? That way that nozzle angle and the jet angle, that is basically the same thing. Okay, so you can say instead of nozzle angle, you also can write it jet angle at inlet. They are same. And beta will give you the jet angle at outlet. They are just like twin brother. This is the jet angle inlet, this is jet angle outlet. And similarly theta and phi, theta is the inlet part and phi is the outlet part. So theta is giving you the blade angle inlet, and twin sister will come phi, it will be blade angle outlet. That is the reason why I am giving this kind of nomenclature. Many books are there, they will use different kind of notation. You can select any one according to your wish, but just try to know the basic thing, then you can select any book according to your preference. So now see the velocity outlet diagram. The velocity which is coming out of the blade, gliding the blade, it will be the relative velocity, because both are moving. So net velocity, with net velocity will coming out. And here you can see the blade is moving in rightward direction and the jet is coming in leftward direction, isn't it? Jet is coming in this direction and the blade is moving in this direction. They are opposite in direction. So while two vectors in opposite direction, then the resultant vector will VR2 will be obviously sum of V2 and U2. That thing already I have told last day, because they are acting in reverse direction. You see this VR2, the length of VR2 is greater comparing with V2, because VR2 is more than V2. That is the reason. Understood? And direction of every vector should be kept. See, V2 direction is along this, but U2 direction will be this. This is the direction of U2, mind it, opposite. And if this is V2, suppose if I keep it like this, this is the direction of V2, this is V2. From here I am keeping here. So obviously it will have one vertical component, one horizontal component. Horizontal component named by VW2 and vertical component named by VF2. So this is the VW2. The direction of VW2 will be opposite of U2. See, VW2 and U2, they are acting in opposite direction. Now you can say that VW2, here your drawings are upward, how it is coming downward. You can do it. You can do it. Any vector can be shifted from one position to another position if you maintain the direction same. You can do it. So I am doing the same thing. That VW2 is the horizontal component of V2, which is known as wheel velocity at outlet, and VF2 should be there. VF2, that means the velocity of flow at outlet. Tell me, is there any confusion? Then tell me. Minutely try to learn the thing. If you have any confusion, then you can tell me, I can try to clear it more. Now the direction, that is the deflection, angle of deflection, or the camber angle, whatever I have said now, that 165 should be maintained. That is the angle. I can show it like this. This is the deflection. Basically, the jet is coming with this direction. So this is the direct angle which I am talking about. That is 165 degree should be maintained, which is the angle of deflection, or rather say camber angle. Deflection of jet, angle of deflection of jet. That angle should be maintained 165. This is the whole drawing of velocity diagram for Pelton wheel. Tell me, any confusion, then tell me. যদি confusion হয়, please go through the any kind of web source or book, then revert back to me. I will again try to clarify it more. Okay. Now in case of Pelton wheel,
স্যার তো উপরের দিকে একটা করুন এরকম
ওরে পাগল, ওপরের দিকে কি করে হবে? ওপরের ডায়াগ্রামটাই তো এরকম হয়ে গেছে। এতক্ষণ তাহলে কি বুঝলে? ওপরের দিকে যে
এটা তো দুদিকে যাবে একটা
ও হ্যাঁ, এটাই উপরেও যাবে, রাইট রাইট রাইট, সেটা আমি ড্র করিনি। দিস কাইন্ড অফ ভেলোসিটি আউটলেট ডায়াগ্রাম উইল বি মানে মিরর ইমেজ উইল বি অ্যাভেলেবল ইন দিস সাইড, অবভিয়াসলি থাকবে। তো একটা দিক করলে আর একটা দিক তো একই জিনিস, তাই জন্য ড্র করা হয়নি। It will be just like a mirror image. That is very simple. Okay. So whatever condition we are getting for Pelton turbine, just I am jot down all the conditions what we can draw from this velocity diagram. First of all, the relative velocity at inlet VR1, relative velocity at inlet VR1 can be written from this diagram V1 minus U1. First thing. And before of that, I should mention one thing, that for impulse turbine, or rather say the Pelton turbine, I told you in the previous class also that U1 and U2 both are same actually. U1 and U2, they are basically the same and they are referred by U. This is the case for impulse turbine only, mind it. It will be not same for the reaction turbine. Okay, because the degree of reaction, it is 0 for impulse turbine, and for making the degree of reaction 0, that U1 and U2 will be remain same. What is degree of reaction? I told you last day. Similarly, I have told you that day also that VR1 and VR2 also will be remain same. To avoid shock. What shock? While the jet is going to hit that particular blade, due to the high friction, a shock can be produced. So by making a very polished surface, you can consider the relative velocity at inlet and relative velocity of outlet also will be remain same, and by maintaining these two conditions, then we can achieve that degree of reaction will be 0 for Pelton turbine. So these are the conditions we have to keep in our mind while you are doing analysis for Pelton turbine. Tangential component of velocity at inlet and outlet, they are basically same. How you can find the U magnitude? U can be find out by using this expression, pi d n by 60. D is the diameter of the rotor and n is the revolution per minute. So by using this expression, you can find the tangential velocity of this particular Pelton wheel. And relative velocity VR1 and VR2 also will be remain same, considering no shock. Okay. Now whatever angles already I told, what is alpha and theta. Here you can see that alpha is 0 and theta is also 0. There is no existence of alpha and theta, but phi and beta will be there, mind it. And here also in case of inlet diagram, you can say Vf1 is none. Vf1 value is 0. No axial component of absolute velocity is available. So Vf1 is 0 here. Alpha is also 0, theta is also 0. But phi and beta is there. Okay. So these component actually help us to find out the efficiency. How you can find the efficiency? Basically, I have told you in the last class that hydraulic efficiency, mechanical efficiency and overall efficiency. These three efficiencies are important for any turbo machinery. Okay. Now, from Euler's equation, whatever we have derived in the last class, I have written that E by M is equals to VW1 U1 minus VW2 U2. That expression already we have derived in the last class. What is E by M? E by means energy per unit mass. I think you can recall your memory. Energy, that is the stored energy divided by unit mass of the working fluid. That is the Euler's equation. It is written by this form, where VW is the wheel velocity component and U is the tangential velocity of the rotor. That expression you know. How it can be derived, I have shown you last day. Now see, from this particular expression you can write it like this. See, VW1 U1 and VW2 U2. Now we are going to replace this VW1 term, this and this one. How? From this velocity diagram. Okay, so first of all I should write those components separately. How VW1 can be written? See here, VW1, from this diagram you can see that VW1 and V1 is same because they are both acting in a horizontal direction, isn't it? So VW1 and V1, if they are same, I can write U plus VR1, because U1 and U2 both are same, so I can write U plus VR1 instead of VW1, because U1 and U2 they are same. Similarly, if I write for VW2, here you can see VW2. How you can change VW2? See, the trigonometrical relationship I have to use. I am writing the relationship. See, can you understand or not? VR2 cos phi, VR2 cos phi minus U, because U1 and U2 both are same, and in front of it I am giving a negative direction. See, is it understood or not? Tell me. This is the VR2, this is the VR2, this angle is phi, so VR2 cos phi means this whole base part. This whole base part is VR2 cos phi. From there, if you subtract this U2 value, it will give you VW2. Now VW2, why I am giving you negative? Because the direction of VW2, see, leftward direction, that is why this minus sign is coming. Tell me, understood or not?
Yes, sir.
Now put these both expression onto this Euler's equation. How it look like? E by M, energy per unit mass. Just put those expression, VW1 U plus VR1 U1 minus, instead of VW2, basically I am putting this minus inside. If I put this minus inside, it will be U minus VR2 cos of phi multiplied with U, because U1 and U2 both are same. See, understood? Now do the multiplication inside. That means this U, oh sorry, it will be U. U will be multiplied here, U will be multiplied here, and U square will be there, and U square will be cancel each other. See, here one U square and here also one U square will be there. Both will be in opposite sign, so they will cancel each other. So from there I am getting a relationship like this: VR1 plus VR2 cos of phi will be there, outside bracket U. Any problem? Just do it with your pen and copy. It will be very easy. I need some space. So from here I am moving up. E by m, that is the energy per unit mass, it will be giving this kind of relationship. Okay, now already I have told you that VR1 and VR2 actually it is same. So if I write this expression, suppose I am taking VR1 as common. So if I take VR1 as common, so it will be 1 by VR2 by VR1 cos phi into u. Okay. Now if in the problem it is told that there is some friction, then you cannot make VR2 and VR1 equal, obviously. General case, VR1 equals to VR2, but if it is told in the numericals that VR1 there is some friction in the blade or bucket, then you cannot consider VR1 and VR2 will be remain same. Mind it, Baba. If there is friction, it is mentioned, then obviously VR1 will be greater than VR2, isn't it? If there is friction, and if it is not mentioned, then you can consider VR1 and VR2 will be remain same. Understood? Now suppose I am considering the general case, there is some friction. Okay, if I consider general case, then it can be written like this. Keep this VR1 outside. Now this ratio I am taking like K, that means the ratio between two relative velocity. Which two relative velocity? Relative velocity at outlet to relative velocity at inlet, and taking like a constant of K. So K of cos phi outside, u is there. Okay, now this VR1 from this diagram I can write V1 minus u. From inlet velocity diagram I can write VR1 में जगह इटा लिखते पारी. So 1 plus K cos of phi in outside bracket u. That is the energy per unit mass for a Pelton wheel. While we are going to travel, our objective is find out the hydraulic efficiency. That is our objective. We are moving into that direction. Okay. Now coming to that part, that is the hydraulic efficiency, what we know. I have written in the last class, I have made 3 block diagram like this, 3 blocks like this. One was water power, one was runner power, and one was shaft power. This kind of diagram I have made last day. If I move from water power to runner power, then I have told it is hydraulic efficiency. If I go for runner power to shaft power, I make it by mechanical efficiency. And if we travel from water power to shaft power, I have make it by overall efficiency. That thing, can you remember? Just 2 days back.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Then try to find out the hydraulic efficiency. Eta H means hydraulic efficiency. Hydraulic efficiency is a ratio between runner power to water power. Runner power to water power. Runner power means rotor power, the same thing. Okay. So runner power, this is the actually thing which is actually supplied to the runner. From here I am getting the runner power. So this is the thing, I should write it over here. This is the energy per unit mass actually. If I want to convert this thing energy for total energy, if I want to get it, then it will be runner power, because it is per unit mass. So it is specific energy, it is now. If we want to convert it in total energy, then it can be used like runner power. So if you want to get total energy, what will be that? Just you have to multiply the m over there, nothing else. Why? Because it is for unit mass, it is specific energy actually. So if you want to get the total energy from here, then what will be that? It will be capital E only. So by which you have to multiply this m to the right hand side, isn't it? So if I use this m can be written by rho into q, because basically it is not m, it is m dot actually, mass flow rate. I missed that dot. So mass flow rate can be written by density into discharge, isn't it? Rho is the density and q is the discharge. Can we write m dot equals to density into discharge? If any confusion, use the units. Rho, that is the density unit, is kg per meter cube in SI, and discharge unit is meter cube per second, that is volume flow rate. So meter cube will cancel each other, so it will giving you kg per second, isn't it? It is giving you kg per second, so that is the mass flow rate. So I can write that mass flow rate in terms of density into discharge. Can I write?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Or I can write it like this way also, A into V1. Very frequently I can write the, sorry, one density will be there, rho into A into V1. Density into cross sectional area of the jet into the velocity of the jet, also it will give you the mass flow rate. These expressions actually very frequently used in fluid mechanics. Okay, so here I am using rho into q, leave it. So rho into q, that is the density and the discharge. Which density? Density of the working fluid. And which discharge? Discharge of the working fluid. If it is multiplied with this expression, that is v1 minus u inside bracket 1 plus k of cos phi by the u. That is the total energy. That is the total energy actually. Total energy given by the fluid to the bucket. Actually this is the thing which is known as the power developed in bucket. Now in general term I have told you runner. In Pelton turbine we do not say this is runner, we say it is a bucket. So that is the power developed in a bucket, that is nothing but the runner power. So that whole expression will be substituted over here at the numerator side. Got it? Now what is about the water power? Water power, already I told you, in case of impulse turbine only the kinetic energy plays the important role over here. So that is nothing but the kinetic energy of jet. Kinetic energy of jet per second. It is nothing but, it can be expressed by half mv square. So m I can write by this rho into q, because mass flow rate, that is the mass, or else the mass flow rate, because I am finding out by per second. Half m v square. Which velocity we should consider? Obviously the absolute velocity of the jet. This is the water power. That means the kinetic energy of the jet per second.
Sir,
Runner power, actually this thing, what amount of energy is supplied by the working fluid to the bucket, that is the runner power, nothing else. Now if you want to find out, is this whole expression giving you a unit of power? Yes, it is giving you. If you have any confusion about any expression, try to find out the unit. If that unit is giving the unit of power, then it is power. Check it out. Rho into q, it is giving you kg per second. Rho into q, it is giving you kg per second unit. Rest all are basically the velocity, v, u, relative velocity, u, they all are velocity, meter per second. Okay.
what giving the word, sir?
এক সেকেন্ড, মেশিনটা আবার কি হলো? Yes. So this unit v and u, this unit giving you meter per second. Now here that suppose this is k, if I consider 1, then it will be no unitless, then u will be there, 1 meter per second will be there. So this kg meter per second square, kg meter per second square, it will giving you Newton. We know, isn't it? Newton is nothing but kg meter per second square. From childhood knowledge, kg is the mass and meter per second square is the acceleration. So mass into acceleration giving you force. So if kg meter per second square is Newton, again 1 meter per second is there. So Newton meter per second, that is nothing but watt. So obviously this unit will be watt. That is the power. বড্ড জি মেসি হয়ে গেছে জায়গাটায়, ঘেটে গেছে. So this is the power which is produced by the rotor, by the working fluid. Basically this is the power which is supplied by the working fluid to the rotor. So rotor will produce this thing. Rotor bolo, runner bolo, bucket bolo, the same thing. Okay, and this is the kinetic energy of the jet which is coming as a water energy or water power. You can also find the unit of this expression. It will also give you the unit of watt. So if you make the ratio of two expression, this one and this one, then it will be giving you the hydraulic efficiency. So what will be that? I am removing the other sides. Just try to build the final expression eta h. Putting this whole expression, rho bolchi rho likhchi q, rho q v1 minus u 1 plus k cos of phi into u divided by half rho q into v1 square. So obviously rho q and rho q will cancel each other. As a result of that, this expression can be written like 2 will be going to the numerator side, isn't it? 2 v1 minus u will be there and 1 plus k cos of phi will be there and multiplied with u also will be there, and at the bottom v1 square. This is the expression which is actually expressed for the hydraulic efficiency. Mind it, up to this limit we have considered there is friction in the blade. If it is mentioned there is no friction in the blade, that k value will be 1. Mind it out, don't forget it. Okay, now if we want to find out that what is the maximum value of the hydraulic efficiency, then what we have to do, we have to derive that particular expression but just by the maxima minima concept and make it equal to 0. Then you can get a condition for which this value will be maximum. It's a very old concept. Now based on which you are going to derive this, that means you have to find out which parameter is actually variable, which can vary. Okay, so here actually the variable parameter is u by v1. That means the tangential velocity of the jet making a ratio with absolute velocity of the jet, because if you control the absolute velocity of the jet, as a result of that tangential velocity of the rotor also will be regulated. Just in the video, that point of time one sphere was there, you can recall or not, I don't know. One sphere was there inside the nozzle. That sphere valve actually helps to regulate the flow rate of the water. So if you regulate the flow rate, you can change the velocity of the jet v1, and if you change the v1, then with that u also will be changed. So u by v1, that ratio can be regulated. Okay, so that u is nothing but the velocity of wheel. I say velocity of wheel, it can be written like in short I can write it like, and it is the velocity of jet, or rather say absolute velocity of jet. And this ratio also known as speed ratio. So with respect to that, if I differentiate this whole expression, that means d eta h with respect to d by u v1, and if we make it equal to 0, then we will get a expression or a condition based on which you can get the maximum hydraulic efficiency. So just change this expression or modify this expression to some extent, then the derivative or differentiation will be more easy. See, can I write this hydraulic efficiency in terms of this u by v1? Check. Can I write it like this? 2, then taking a common. Which common? Just taking v1 as common. So it will be 1 minus u by v1. So 1 plus k cos phi also will be there, and outside it is also u by v1. Just a slight modification I have been done, just changing this expression like this way, by which you can do the differentiation with respect to u by v1 very easily. You can check this expression and you can do it with your pen and copy. It's a very easy one. Just forcefully I have taken v1 common from this first bracket, so it will be converted 1 minus u by v1. Okay, so that v1 is again cancelled with this v1, so denominator side one v1 will be left there, and that denominator I have written with this part. See, is it right or not? You can find it out.
Yes.
Now do the differentiation with respect to this parameter, that means this parameter u by v1. With respect to u by v1, do the differentiation. If I derive it, if I differentiate it, so what it will give you? See, this u by v1, basically 1 plus k cos phi will be cancelled out, because that whole part is a constant term, it will not be there, isn't it? So this u by v1, 1 u by v1 will be there, and 1 u square by v1 square will be there. Just differentiate it, you will get it 1 minus 2u by v1, and it will be remain 0. Do the derivation, is a very easy one. If you don't understand, then I will make it clear, otherwise I will understand that you have understood the thing. 2, it is constant, it will be eliminated. This 1 plus k cos phi constant, it will be eliminated. So the only left out part will be u by v1 minus u by v1 whole square. You have to derive this particular part with respect to u by v1. That is the thing I am doing. So if I derive
Yes,
this,
sir,
got it? So from there, what the final condition it is coming, that is a very, very important thing. If you make it 0, then just change the side, it will give you u equals to v1 by 2. That is the important relation. What does this mean? That means velocity of wheel, or rather say velocity of rotor or velocity of bucket, it is nothing but half into absolute velocity of jet. That is the important fact. If you want to achieve maximum hydraulic efficiency for any belt and wheel, if you achieve this condition, it will give you the maximum hydraulic efficiency. What is the condition? Condition is the wheel velocity, rather say the tangential velocity of the wheel, will be equal with half of the absolute velocity of the jet. That means if you follow this inlet velocity diagram, this u point will be at the middle of this v1. Are you getting me or not? If this is the length of v1, it is the length of v1, at the middle, that is the value of u1. That is the thing we have find out to achieve the maximum hydraulic efficiency. This condition is available if you want to achieve eta h maximum, then we have to achieve this condition. Now if we put this value on that hydraulic efficiency expression, from there you can get the expression of maximum hydraulic efficiency, because this is the condition. If you want to get the value of the maximum hydraulic efficiency. So what we have to do? It's a simple maximum minimum problem. We do it several times in maths. Just you have to use this condition over here. Put this expression over here. Do the calculation. Then you can find it. The eta h maximum, that expression will be coming 1 plus cos of phi by 2. Do the calculation, you will get it. Nothing complex is there. Just put this value. You can put it like this way also. U by V1 equals to half. U by V1 means the speed ratio. That speed ratio is half. Put this expression over here. 1 minus half will give you half. So half and 2 will be cancelled each other. This one will be half. So 1 plus k cos by 2. Are you getting me, or should I do the calculation?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes sir means I have to do it.
No, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. So that eta hydraulic maximum will be this expression. So this question many times come that what is the condition of maximum hydraulic efficiency and what is the value of maximum hydraulic efficiency. Both can be written like this. Got it? The derivation many times come. Now apart of hydraulic efficiency, if you want to get the value of mechanical efficiency and overall efficiency, then it can be find out very easily. Because already I told you that this is the 3 boxes you have to remember every time. This is the shaft power, this is the water power, and this is the runner power. So hydraulic efficiency, it is known. Then runner power to shaft power, if you want to get it, then mechanical efficiency will get it, shaft power by runner power. What is this shaft power? Shaft power means the power of that turbine shaft. Most of the times that shaft power is given in the problem, like 2 kilowatt like this, or 5 kilowatt power of the turbine shaft. If it is not given, then you can find it like this formula also, 2 pi nt by 60. What does this mean? That means torque into angular velocity. Angular velocity is nothing but 2 pi n by 60, angular velocity, and T is the torque. So you all know that this is the normal relationship, P equals to T into omega or 2 pi nt by 60. If you get the value of torque and the rotation or revolution of the shaft, then you can get the power, which is actually here shaft power. And runner power already we have got it. Okay. Directly most of the problems they give the value of shaft power. If it is not given, then this information will be given. If you are asked to find out mechanical efficiency, it is eta m means eta mechanical. And if you go for overall, then overall efficiency can be written by shaft power to water power. Shaft power means this part, and water power, that means already I have written half rho a v, that means the mass flow rate into v square, or rather say v1. So that is the actually water power. In case of impulse turbine I am talking about. Whatever I am talking now, it is only valid for impulse or Pelton wheel. And they will change for reaction turbine. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Actually hydraulic efficiency is सबसे बेसी important যে কোনো টারবাইনের ক্ষেত্রে। হাইড্রোলিক এফিসিয়েন্সিকে অনেক সময় বাকেট এফিসিয়েন্সিও বলা হয়, হুইল এফিসিয়েন্সিও বলা হয়, সবই কিন্তু মানেটা একই। আরও কিছু কন্ডিশন অঙ্ক করবার জন্য লাগবে বলে দিই। ফার্স্ট হচ্ছে V1, হাউ ইউ ক্যান ফাইন্ড আউট V1, দ্যাট ইজ ভেলোসিটি অফ জেট, V1 অফ জেট, ইনকামিং জেট। It can be find out by using CV root over 2GH. How it can be find out? It can be find out by applying Bernoulli's equation. Bernoulli's equation. Very easy thing. Basically, if we apply Bernoulli's equation, suppose this is a nozzle, this is the nozzle inlet, this is the nozzle outlet. If we apply this Bernoulli's equation for this nozzle part, I can write that amount of H is the actually This h is nothing but the net head. Net head means suppose পাহাড়ের ওপরে রিজার্ভার আছে, সেখান থেকে আর ওই টারবাইনের যে অ্যাক্সিস যেখানে আসছে, দ্যাট ইজ দ্য এলিভেশন, দ্যাট ইজ নোন অ্যাজ নেট হেড. Okay, so if I apply the Bernoulli's equation, it can be written like this: h minus hf. Hf, why it is? Because some head will be lost due to the friction. This is the pipeline loss, frictional head loss due to pipe inside the pipeline, and it is expressed by the Darcy-Weisbach. You can recall your memory. That will be expressed by v2 square by twice g, because this point velocity I am taking like v2, that is the velocity head. I can think that they are still remembered by you people. It is Bernoulli's equation, velocity head or kinetic head, and pressure head, it is atmospheric pressure, so it will be 0, and z is the potential head. It also can be neglected. So this is the thing, whatever it is left behind. So from there I can find that absolute velocity v2 can be written 2g h minus hf root over. Okay, if we neglect this particular head loss, if it is not mentioned that there is a head loss in the pipeline, this amount of head is lost due to the pipeline flow, then you can consider this formula. That means here hf is neglected, hf tends to 0. That way I can basically, why I am neglecting, because after neglecting this hf I am putting a factor over here. You can see this is the cv. What does this mean? cv is actually coefficient of velocity. Coefficient of velocity, it is nothing but a factor which is considered like 0.985 generally. So basically I have implied that head loss by putting this factor in front of. Understood? So that cv is basically playing the role which is coming there just for the sake of the loss due to the friction. So that from the for the solving of the numerical, you have to use this formula directly, from where cv will be given most of the times, net head also will be given in the problem. Using this relation you can find the absolute velocity of the jet which is coming in the turbine. Then already I told you that u can be find out using this relation, that is the tangential velocity of the rotor. Jet ratio, one term will be there in the problem, jet ratio. Jet ratio expressed by small m, and it is nothing but capital D by small d. Capital D means what? Pitch dia. What is this pitch dia? Suppose this is the rotor, it will look like this. This is the blades, okay, this is the blades. So pitch dia means a kind of this kind of imaginary diameter, not going to the maximum dia, not going to the minimum dia, just kind of a mean dia I am considering. You can consider the mean dia also. This is the diameter, that is capital D. Okay, and small d is the jet dia, the diameter of jet. It is also a kind of circular cross section, the jet. Okay, and most of the cases that ratio, most of the cases it is considered like 12. That means ratio between pitch dia to jet dia, it is considered 12. It is not so it will be constant for all the time, but generally, or rather say usually, it is maintained like these values, 12. And number of jet and number of bucket, those two information also important over here, number of jet and number of buckets. Generally number of jets number of buckets expressed by capital Z, and it is find out using a empirical relation which is look like this. It's an empirical relation. Empirical relation means relationship built by doing some observations from experiments. So this empirical relations helps us to find out that what number of buckets will be ideal if you know these values. And number of jets is basically one jet most of the time used, but multiple number of jet also can be used. Multiple jets mean multiple nozzle. Multiple jets also used. It is depending on the criteria. Okay, it is depending on the criteria. Suppose you are having the total rate of flow you have. Now you can total rate of flow means q data you have. Now you can distribute that q by using multiple number of jet or by a single jet. If it is easy for incorporating multiple jet, then it can be done. So single jet or multiple jet both can be used depending on the design. So whatever the things we have covered till now, they are going to utilize to solve some problems. আমি জানি মনে মনে বলছো স্যার এবার ছেড়ে দিন। আগের দিনকে অভিষেক বলেছিল যে আজকে স্যার এইটুকুনি থাক, তাই তো একটা প্রবলেম আমি করিয়ে ছাড়বো, কারণ এর পরের বাকি কাজটুকু একটা প্রবলেম আমি করিয়ে ছাড়বো এই কারণে, বাকি কাজটুকু যদি করতে হয় তাহলে নিজেদেরকে করতে হবে। কারণ আমি থিওরিটিক্যাল পার্টটা পুরোটা করিয়ে একটা অঙ্ক করিয়ে ছাড়ছি, মানে আমি ধরে নেবো এই ফেল্টন টারবাইন আমি কমপ্লিট করেছি। যদি না তোমরা আমাকে খোঁচাও তাহলে আমি ভেবে নেবো কমপ্লিট। কীরকম একটা অঙ্ক করাচ্ছি সেই অঙ্কটা করলে আশা করি পা ব্যথা হয়ে গেছে, সব দিকগুলো কভার হয়ে যাবে। One problem is there. Suppose I am taking the only data, not writing the whole statement. One Pelton wheel is to be designed for the following specifications. What are the specifications? I am writing those specifications only, nothing else. Okay. Shaft power is given 11772 kilowatt. Okay. Head is given. What head is available for the turbine? 380 meter. You see, it is more than 300 meter. Okay. Then speed is given, that is the RPM is given actually 750 RPM. Those are the specifications. Overall efficiency is given 86%. Then jet dia is not to exceed 1/6. Jet dia is not to exceed. Jet dia is not to exceed 1/6 of the wheel dia. It is told so. Okay. And you have to find lots of things like wheel diameter. Wheel diameter, I have used a symbol capital D there. Okay. Number of jet required. And dia of jet. These three things you have to find out. And two more things is given. CV value is given. Generally it is accepted 0.985. It is given so. And speed ratio is given. Speed ratio already I told you what it is. Speed ratio is given 0.45. These are the given data. What you have to find out? The wheel diameter, capital D, number of jet required, and the diameter of jet. Okay. So what are the given data? First you have to collect them properly. Now if the head is available, then always first try to find out the absolute velocity of the jet, that is V1, because V1 only can be find out by CV root over 2GH. This in H is available for you. CV is also given. If CV is not given, you can select 0.985. You can every time it is selected. It's a very well known value, so you can remember it. So from there find the value of V1. Anybody is doing with me with calculator or just sitting? Tell me, then I will give you the values.
No, sir.
What no sir?
Sir, something good.
Thank you. So give me the values. চলো 85 accept করি, round up করে নিলাম. You can take the decimal figure also, anything. So absolute velocity of the incoming jet, we got it. Now what have to find out, that is wheel dia. Wheel dia means we have expressed it by capital D. We have अच्छा ठीक है 85 एक्सेप्ट कर लें चलो. So try to find out capital D. From where you can try get the value of capital D, just try to think. I have given a relationship, that is tangential velocity that is u equals to pi dn by 60. That relationship involves capital D. Try to think about that. While you are going to solve a numerical, just using the formula you have to think about. Otherwise, you don't involve any theoretical aspect into that problem. Then it will be a very time consuming thing. Always try to solve a numerical thinking analytically. So we have this formula before. There is the wheel diameter. D is there. So by hook or by crook, n is given to you. So you have to find out u. Then you can get easily, isn't it? Then how u can be find out? That way a ratio is there. Speed ratio is there. Speed ratio I told you just at the time of derivation. What is that? U by v1, isn't it? Just go through that particular derivation. Now v1 you got, and it is value of 0.45. So from there you can find it u value. Got it? Find it first. If anybody having any confusion, then 38.25. Ready? I am getting the same. So if u is available, then easily from here find out the value of d. Obviously it will coming with meter, so some decimal value will be there. So here to here, then here to here. N value is given in terms of revolution per minute, 750. Put it there. 0. আমার এসছে 975, তোমার কত বললে? ঠিক আছে চলবে, ঠিক আছে চলবে।
So 0.975.
ওই 5 আমারও এসছে, যাই হোক এর কাছাকাছি হলেই হবে। So 0.975 meter, that means 975 millimeter. That is the diameter of the wheel. We got it. Then try to find out the number of jet required. Number of jet only can be find out. Number of jets, how much, what is the number of jets? It can be find out by using only what is the total amount of discharge. What is the total amount of discharge? That is basically the Q, and divided by discharge for one jet. Discharge by one jet. একটা জেটের ডিসচার্জ কত, সেটা ধরে সেটা স্মল কিউ বললাম। So this expression will give you number of jet, isn't it? Simple policy. Total discharge divided by one jet discharge, you will get the number of jet. Understood? So how they can be find out? First try to find out the total discharge, then we will find out the discharge for one jet. देखो one ratio is given, jet dia is not to exceed 1/6 of the wheel dia. What does this mean? This jet dia, I have used a nomenclature small d. You can go through the previous page. And wheel dia already I explained it by capital D. So here this small d by capital D is given 1/6, isn't it? Because in other words it is so, small d is 1/6 of d. It is given like that. So I can switch it like this. Are you getting me? Jet dia is not to exceed 1/6 of the wheel dia. So small d is 1/6 of d. So it can be written like this.
Yes, sir.
So from there easily you can find out small d value, because capital D is already available for us. So small d, if it is available for you, from there you can easily find out discharge by one jet. Because discharge by one jet, I am making a symbol of small q. Small q is nothing but area into velocity. Which area I am considering? Obviously the cross sectional area of the jet. That means it is a circular cross section, because the jet is a kind of cylinder. Pi by 4 into d square, that is the cross sectional area of the jet. Which cross section area? Basically normal to the flow. If this is the flow, this is the flow direction, I should consider this area. Understood? This is a circle actually, circular area. That is why I am taking pi by 4 d square. Which area it is? The cross sectional area of the jet. Are you getting me? And that should be multiplied with the velocity. Which velocity? The jet velocity. That means v1. That way you are getting the discharge of one jet. If you are having any confusion, then please tell me. Basically discharge means volume flow rate. Discharge means what? Volume flow rate. Volume flow rate means what? Volume flow rate means area into velocity. If you have any confusion, find the unit. Area means meter square, velocity means meter per second. It will giving you meter cube per second. That is nothing but volume flow rate. Any confusion, try to analyze the unit. It will give you the right direction. So that is this same formula, area, velocity. Which area? First find out which area. The area normal to the direction.
1.76.
Sorry, কি বললে?
1.76.
Yes, 1.76. Very good. 1.76 meter cube per second. Mind the unit, huh? If anybody having any confusion here, then please tell me. So discharge by one jet can be find out by this way. Okay. Now one thing is missing here, total discharge. So total discharge can be find out if there is one efficiency is given. Now this efficiency is needed, overall efficiency. See, I am removing this part. Overall efficiency is given. Overall efficiency I had that written that point of time, shaft power to the water power. Shaft power is directly given, and water power can be written by this expression. Mind this expression what I am giving you. That water power can be written by this expression also, rho qg into h. Rho qg into h. You can use that same expression whatever I have given before, that half into rho a v1 square, v1 into v1 square. That expression also you can use, but it is much easy expression to remember. That is I am telling you that rho is the density, q is the discharge, that is the capital Q. Why I am going here? Because I have to find out this q value. I can make it clear more, because if I find out water power, by this expression, half into rho a v1 into v1 square, you can find it very well. No problem, because V1 is also known for us. Cross sectional area of the jet, it is also known for us. Density is always known. So you can use this water power formula. But the problem is that it will not help us here. We are trying to find out the capital Q, that is the discharge, total discharge, and total discharge only can be find out if we use this formula for water power. If you have any confusion, is it giving the relationship? It is producing power, is it? Find it out. Rho, that is kg per meter cube, discharge, that is meter cube per second, g meter per second square, and h always will giving you meter. See, meter cube cancelled, kg meter per second square, it will giving you Newton meter per second, so it will giving you watt. So that is water power, nothing but the water power. Because we are considering the discharge of water, we are considering this density of water, we are considering the head available, net head available. So that will produce the water power, that expression, and it is giving you watt unit, and the shaft power is given in kilowatt unit, so it should be divided by 1000. Keep the basics clear, everything can be easy. So
Sir, is Q 3.68?
yes, put the expressions over here, this one, then from there, yes, Q is whatever, what do you get?
3.68.
Very good. My value is 3.67 meter cube per second. So this expression, overall efficiency is known to you, shaft power is known to you, H, rho, all are known. Q, only Q is the unknown part. So from there you can get the value of Q. My value is 3.67, Aditya is close to it, so rest of you all should reach to that limit. Now from there, if you capital Q and small q both are known for you, then easily can be find out number of jets. So if you divide it from there, you can get the number of jets will be 2. Basically in case of Pelton turbine, প্রচুর জেট ইউজ করা হয় তা নয়, সেই জন্য এখানে দুখানা বেরোচ্ছে. So 2 jets will do serve your purpose. Obviously it will be close to 2, exact 2 হবে না. If we divide them 3.6 m divided by 1.76, it will give you 2.08, so it is close to 2.